Well, hey there everyone, and welcome to my channel. And today we have Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 after a long time because I have to report some of my findings regarding performance with slightly older CPUs. Because, well, recently, I mean, not so recently anymore. It's almost been half a year, but I got a GPU upgrade thinking Microsoft Flight Sim would run perfectly at last. Because I had, well, it wasn't terrible. Like, it was playable with the 2070, with the settings I had. But I did have a lot of stuttering around, like, bigger cities, like New York City, um, LA, that kind of stuff, London especially, because of the photogrammetry and stuff, and I just couldn't get to a sweet spot where the performance would be consistent everywhere. But I seem to have kind of cracked the code in a way. I mean, it's not perfect, but at the very least, it does not stutter as much as it would in the past. I'm gonna run through the settings and also explain why I have made such compromises and why it differs so much from my older settings from that video I made back in 2021, I think, showing my settings that I had back then for Quad HD, and now they're completely different. I had to change a lot of things. Also, it's important to remember that back then I was only flying GA aircraft because Microsoft Flight Sim did not have a single airliner that was worth flying. I had a fly-by-wire, but it was very early on. It was not enjoyable to fly whatsoever. And now there's the Phoenix, which I have already recorded a bunch of videos showing it around, and I didn't quite enjoy it compared to the FS Labs. There's the PMDG, which is something I recently got into. I've never flown a Boeing before, so that was new to me. All around, I've never ever flown a 737 before until early May when I got it for the first time in such a bite bullet. And surprisingly, it was quite the experience. Honestly, I thought I would actually hate it, but it's not too bad. The hand flies nicely, the sounds are great, the systems are not very complex as much as people say. Oh my god, 737 is so much different than the A320. It's so much harder. It is not. It took me like one guided flight, a friend helping me out with the buttons and stuff, and then I figured plain out in one flight basically, because it's really not all that complex. It's just, 737 fans being kind of probably, I mean, my theory is that they have never actually tried a day 320 before, so they say it's fairly more complex, but in fact it's not really all that different, in my opinion, at least. Playing still cold and dark, as you can see. Put the GPU on. I should turn this thing on before we head over to the settings. Actually, let's check the settings first. Let's see, general options. Then we go over to the graphics. You can see we're running Quad HD, TAA, 125% render scaling, so it's almost 4K there, almost, but not quite. We have VSync on, locked to 30 FPS. Personal preference, I could get more frames, but I prefer to do it this way. NVIDIA Reflex on, DX11, and the settings, except for terrain LOD, which I have made a sacrifice here in order to get better performance, because I have a 3700X. It was chugging around bigger cities. So what I did was move that slider down, and then I moved the objects up because that's more on the GPU, and the GPU is more than plenty for the for Microsoft Flight Sim. I mean, it's not a top of the line card anymore. It's a 3080, but it does the job, especially in Quad HD. I'm not really forcing things too much here with 150 and everything else on Ultra as it used to be before. So now that we have that shown, and once I take off, you guys are going to see why I have made this compromise regarding the level of detail. Because if I had it on 100 with photogrammetry on, it would just chug along like low 20s. Now it's a little more consistent. The stuttering is also down to a minimum. which is great. Really glad that I figured out a way to still have a little bit of photogrammetry, even though it looks melted and terrible. From high up, it's not that bad. And LOD 70 as well. If you're cruising up high, you won't really notice much. And if you're flying low, the object LOD is going to make up for the lack of terrain LOD. Like, the objects are going to look really nice and sharp, so that's good. Especially because I'm running almost 4K. Like, the scaling is not native, it's not native Quad HD, it's rendering a slightly higher res, so it looks even sharper, which is a great thing. It's a very good thing. And the visuals are mind-blowing most of the time. What I'm gonna do here is request boarding.
Boarding requested. Do you want to board crew?
No.
Passengers
I should also
bus
switch
is coming.
to Unicum because I'm flying on VAT Sim, so I should bear it in mind. Yeah, perfect. Now we should also load the plan in, and also, first of all, we gotta get. I think I'm on stand 72, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if it's part of the database. It might not be. Oh, it is. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. I think I've already switched the things to nav. I have. Also, if I do anything wrong, I'm sorry. I'm like really new to the 737, so things are probably not going to be fully by the book, but it gets the plane from A to B. That's all I care at this point. Flying to Iwakuni today. It's not going to be a full flight video. I'm just going to go through the takeoff and flying over Tokyo, which is quite demanding because of the photogrammetry, and then explain why I have made a compromise of killing the overall level of detail in order to get a somewhat playable experience. It's the price to pay. If I had a 500x 3D, I wouldn't have to make any compromises. Maybe I could even move the slider to like 200, no problem. But the 3700X, especially because, well, it's not running at full speed. It's not quite there because of my motherboard. It's a little it's a little too much for it, so it doesn't run at its full speed. Also, I should probably display performance and temperatures. The card is not running at full speed, but then again, it doesn't have to. It won't make a difference because what's holding it back currently is the CPU. So I'm running the GPU at 80%, which makes it like I don't know, 3070 Ti-ish, kinda around the ballpark. It's maybe it drops the power draw. It's good, and I have not noticed a massive difference in frames, because then again, like I said, I'm being held back by my CPU, not by the card, and it was almost the same with the 2070 even, and the 3080 is like twice as fast, so I'm still held back by the CPU. So how do we work around that? And well, there's no way around it other than making compromises that you shouldn't make, you would expect that you wouldn't have to make, you know, like the terrain LOD going all the way down. Like, I feel like I'm flying in bit 3D, but it is what it is. That's flight simulation. If you don't have the best of the best, you just gotta deal with it. At the very least, I can run. At the very least, the cockpit looks nice. The terrain does not, but hey, the cockpit looks sharp as hell. So that's it. Anyway, let's get performance initialized here. Let me check my flight briefing. I'm doing up to chat 30,000. Okay, perfect. I wonder, is it actually does it record? I'm not really sure, because I didn't have two screens before, so I'm not sure if Shadowplay handles window transitions between monitors well, or if it stops recording if I move over to the other window. But if that's the case, I apologize in advance, because I'm gonna be switching from my main to the second monitor quite a few times to get numbers. So that's a 69. Top of climb OAT. Let's see that. Gotta make sure. Oh yeah, apparently it does. Yeah, it's still recording the main screen. That's amazing. So top of climb. I'm supposed to be flying at flight level. Oh, okay. So the top of climb should be around here. It was going to be a minus 32. Okay, so OAT minus 32. Transition out checks out. Then we get the 0 fuel weight, 60.7. The reserves, 1.0. Perfect. Cost index today is 60. Wow, insane. I left that on auto. In same brief, they gave me an insanely high cost index, but I'm not going to bother with that. It's fine. It's fine. Fuel. Okay, what do we have today? We have 8,000 kilograms. Oopsie daisy. That was not intended. There we go. And payload wise, we are rocking 60.7 like I previously mentioned. There we go. Amazing. Right. So we have most of that out of the way. That is absolutely perfect. Wind is 0 to runway 5. We're taking off from 5. That's the runway the Rio flight used. It departed like 20 minutes ago. So I'm also going to follow them and use runway 5. Hopefully the winds won't change. Departure arrival, runway 5. We're going to be taking 9 knots 3. No transition. Perfect. And back there, a route takeoff. No, wait a minute. We need to go on index, performance, and on limit because we're going to use a D rate, climb 1. Perfect. Then takeoff. We're gonna use flaps 5, CG 5. Okay, that's the trim setting. I should have put the winds as well, but 0. Shoot, it's gonna automatically transform that to 360. I changed the speeds. Okay, 150 still. So we put that. Oh my God, stutters! Look at this stutters. That's because we're boarding, I'm sure. GSX is a little bit framey at times, and it shows, but it's worth it when it works. Look at that. Let's ignore the fact that the jetways are floating. That's an issue with the freeware scenery. It's sad, but it is what it is. It's a good scenery nonetheless. Like the important bits work fine. Like ground textures, the taxiways, the layout, it's all up to date, so that's what counts. I don't really care much about the jetways. I mean, they stick out like it's worth them, but what can I do? You know, it is what it is. But it's whatever. At the end of the day, like it doesn't change anything. Like really. Stairs are fine. We can just pretend the jetways are not working for some reason. And that happens in real life at times. Hopefully not in Tokyo, but it does happen. And it is what it is. Now we have the performance down. We have the fuel in. We have the takeoff speeds, which is important. Oh, the trim. I forgot that. Forgot about that. Great. So far, so good. We're gonna try and speed run this thing because, yeah, it is what it is, right? Perfect. Okay. Now we just kind of gotta wait. Oh, look, the alignment's finally there. So airport position of data entering. That's what I like. Should have displayed. Oh, boarding completed. Look at that. That is great. It's been, well, not sure if it's been enough time to already push. I'd like to spend at the very least 20 minutes on the ground, but also that would make the video go on for far longer than it should, because I just want to kind of, you know, demonstrate how it runs. Oh god, GSX wire is so framey. frames just die whenever GSX. You can tell the GPU is being underutilized anyway. Look at that, 53%, 46%. Even though it's locked at like 80% power. It's like if I had it 100%, it would be drawing like 300 watts, while also delivering the same performance, kind of. So what's the point anyway? Reflex and G-Sync especially, they make such a difference though. 30 FPS feels a lot more like 60 with G-Sync on. Obviously that does not show in the recording, obviously, but it's something I can see here because of my monitor. It's amazing. I love G-Sync. Also, Iwakuni is at sea level, so land out is 0. Now we gotta put this to 30,000. Perfect. Then this one as well, because as far as I'm aware, there's no controller on. So I'm just gonna climb straight up to my cruise level, because why not, right? And what else? 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 Oh yeah, I forgot. 1011 QNH. Oh, that was not intended. That was a misclick. There's 30,000 right there. Perfect. Let's get the APU on now. Start this baby up, and then we can push and get moving to runway 5, where we're gonna take off and hope for the best with this photogrammetry. I was running photogrammetry off, and during LOD 70 it was very, very good, even around bigger airports. So I felt like maybe I could turn photogrammetry on. And surprisingly enough, yesterday I flew into Tokyo, to this airport. It was raining, low clouds and all that jazz, and performance was fine. I was like, maybe I could run it on, although I'm not sure if it's worth it from a visual standpoint, because it's actually worse than having it off. Like, everything is so melted. I mean, from above, I guess it does not matter, but if you're flying low and slow, it's it kind of sticks out a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, APU generator is on. We switch this to the APU. We should turn bleeds on. I don't care about that. Let's just turn the APU bleed on. And then we get parking brake on, because we're getting rid of the GPU. So menu, FS sections, ground services, ground power release, and remove the wheel shocks as well, because we're going to be pushing back soon enough. Okie dokie. Now we have to go through a little checklist here. So yaw damper, yeah. Window heat, that goes on. Perfect. Then we have the hydraulics, which also have to go on. And what else? 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 Oh yeah, anti-collision, because we're starting push back. We gotta make sure that we know that. So all the fuel pumps should come on, because obviously we're about to push back, so we need that on. And auto brake has to be on. RTO. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, we can call for pushback. Let me just make sure there's nobody around. I don't think so. Yeah, perfect. Let me just zoom in, because I gotta see. I'm not fully familiar with the airport just yet, so I kinda want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Oh, okay. Apparently I can, yeah, I can push back to the left. Yeah. Wait. Or would it be better to push to the right? Now I'm confused. No, never mind. If I push to the left, it's gonna put me on R, and on R I can follow straight through onto runway 5. Yeah, that's good. Let's do that instead. Perfect. Just use master caution. Okay, let's go for push. Yeah, I think I'm ready for pushback now. Okay, oh yeah, one thing though that I forgot is the squad code 2000. Perfect. Okay, Righty. Bring up. Where is it? Oh my god, where's my cursor? Oh, here it is. RT traffic. Push back. And engine start stand 72. Yeah. Yeah, boy. Let's go. All right, pushing. GSX. Prepare for pushing departure. I'll be turning. Confused. Left. I hope they. Yeah, let's see how that's gonna go. Oh boy. Alright, there it is. There he is, the Japanese guy. And we already have most of it.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Perfect. That is great, sir. Oh my god. There he goes. There he goes.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Oh, that's perfect. The accent's a little bit stereotypical, I guess. I think it's a tad of an exaggeration. I think they could tone it down a little bit. And then again, I've seen worse. The Brazilian accent they made for it, it's just not accurate whatsoever. I've never seen anything quite like that. I mean, they don't sound like that. The average Brazilian, they don't speak English like that. They have a very specific kind of accent. You can tell, like, that guy's Brazilian, but the accent that GSX was trying to pull off there is just not it. It just doesn't make the cut because that's not how people sound. It's not their accent whatsoever.
Release parking brake.
All right,
Freeze.
releasing. There we go.
Commencing push. All engines clear.
All right.
Start at
Let's
release.
start this baby up. Yeah, the bleed's on. Perfect. Let's go. Just wait until 25 and then we put the fuel in. Like I said, I'm not fully familiar with the swings, so if I do screw up, don't pay attention. It's okay. It's okay. I'm an Airbus guy, so like, you know, things are bound to go wrong, and it's okay. We're here for the performance. I would be fine to Phoenix, but Phoenix just doesn't make me happy anymore, and I really don't want to play a flight sim to not have a great time, you know what I mean? Like, I want to enjoy myself as I fly because that's the whole point. It's something I couldn't do in prepared because the license does not allow you to use for personal entertainment. You're not supposed to be entertained. You're not supposed to be having fun. But Microsoft Flight Sim, on the other hand, doesn't have anything regarding that. So, what that does mean at the end of the day is that I'm allowed to enjoy myself, and the Phoenix was just not being very enjoyable to me. I was not having fun flying that airplane for many reasons. Like I really couldn't. Oh my god, it went past. I was too busy rambling. I really couldn't dig the whole. The flight dynamics are just kind of off for an Airbus. I personally don't really dig it. It was not my cup of tea. It just doesn't fly like an Airbus. It doesn't feel like an Airbus. And as such, I have decided to just not bother with it anymore. I've tried many times to like it. God knows I've been like really trying to like it, and it has made me buy a 737, something that never crossed my mind in the past. Like back when I was prepared as a P3 guy, I didn't ever feel the need to buy the 738 or the 737 for that matter, because I was happy with the FS Labs and all the different variants. I always had something to do, route to fly, and it was always fun. But then I moved over to Microsoft Flight Sim. You know, we gotta move on, we gotta embrace the future. Prepared was just not cutting it anymore, especially because some of the airports I like to fly into were out of date and they were not getting any updates anymore. The developers all moved on, and eventually I had to move on as well, which at first was rough because the sim had nothing worth flying at all. And then the Phoenix came out. It was like, hey, that might be the perfect moment to
グリーンズセ
transition
ットパーキングブレークス
and embrace this perfect
ウェイティングユアコンファメーション
simulator.
4 A グッドエンジンスタ
And
ート
well, it wasn't quite like that, was it?
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can
I was
disconnect.
very disappointed with how like the first, because I remember like my first flight with the labs, it felt amazing. If there's one way to define it, is that it felt great. Like I was instantly hooked, and it just felt so alive. I was used to the Aerosoft Airbus, so it was like a breath of fresh air. I was in love. It was love at first sight. And then you would think the same would happen with the Phoenix, because supposedly it was better than the FS Lab and all, with all the
フォートラック
circuit
ディスコネ
breakers
ク
and
ティッ
stuff.
ドバイパスピン
But
リザーブド
nah, the first flight was like, oh my god, what
レ
the
フトイ
hell
ズ
is
クリア
this?
ライトイズクリア
But then I thought, oh, maybe it's my joystick settings are not perfect. Maybe they have a custom. Maybe you gotta set it up accordingly, you know, dead zones and stuff, in order to properly enjoy it. And then I spent the next couple weeks trying different settings, and nothing worked. Nothing made me actually enjoy flying that thing. And eventually I gave up. And then they released a couple updates. I re-downloaded it, tried it again. Oh, now it's might be better. Then I remembered they had one update where it felt great to land, but it had that issue slowing down. It was very, very slippery, and it didn't slow down properly. Even with the flaps, it was a struggle to get the thing to slow down. But that was the one time, despite the thing never slowing down and being a pain for all channel, but landing it was great. That was the moment when I felt like, okay, they are finally getting it. They're finally, this is proper Airbus behavior at last. They got it. They cracked the code. It's handling. It's kind of landing like an Airbus, like I remember the FS Labs handling, and it felt like second nature. I instantly got like great landings. Then they fixed it, and by fixing it, they made it worse. They somehow made it worse again, worse than it was. Then I just kind of gave up. I was like, bro, I ain't putting up with that anymore. You made me do something very unusual, which was buying the 738, which I never thought I would ever do, because it's not my cup of tea. It's never been my cup of tea. And look at me, flying the 737. Because I wanted to fly something in Microsoft Flight Sim, something that felt like an airplane, and this feels like an airplane. I was very critical of PMDG in the past regarding the modeling, texture quality. I still stand by that. Like, textures are a little yikes, especially externally. But the airplane flies convincingly. Like, it feels very solid. I've never flown a 737, but it just feels okay. You know, it convinces you. It's predictable. It's consistent. It reminds me a lot of the labs in the sense, if you stick to one technique, it works like a charm every time. It's not a plane that seems like the flight dynamics change every time you fly it, like the Phoenix was. Because the Phoenix was very tricky to master, because it would always behave differently. It had no consistency to it whatsoever, and I was not appreciating that. No. I was not. And look at me, fucking woman now. Like, Jesus, that's scary. I'm still not quite used to the fact that I'm flying a 737. Sometimes I stop and think like, bro, I'm flying a 737. What the hell? But yeah, it's it, it's very confusing. But the Phoenix led me to actually trying that, and honestly, I should have done that way sooner because it's fun. It's really fun. The systems are as boring as I assumed they would be, but hand flying is great. Yeah, it's fun. There's a bunch of routes. I can fly right in the air now, which is good. Okay, we're all set now, I suppose. Yeah, we are all set. Okie dokie, let's get taxing, shall we? Oh god. Traffic taxi to holding 05. Because why not? Yeah, boy. Let's go. Let's get moving, because if we don't, we're gonna be late to Iwakuni, which is not gonna be on the video, obviously. I'm just gonna be showing the departures, not a full flight video. Otherwise, it would be more than almost 2 hour long. It would be an almost 2 hour long video. I suppose that's not what people would want, right? Way too long. The file size would be massive because I'm recording in quite HD now. So yeah, not a great idea overall. There should be all. There we go. Let's get moving. I don't know, bar perhaps. And off we go. Sky. Oh, by the way, I'm using XEnviro for the weather, XEnviro 2020. Really solid tool. It does offer a better weather depiction than default weather engine. It's a way more realistic experience overall with XEnviro on, especially on final. Like the turbulence is, oh my god, I had way too much power. That's not what I wanted. I mean, we might need it because we're going uphill there, but and then now on a completely different note, the ground textures for this series are so good. Like, honestly, pay rare quality. Like, look at that! Look at that! I love the ground textures and the amount of detail around the airport, the clutter and stuff, and the logos and so on. It's really good, and in fact, like, it's a massive airport in a very dense area, and the performance is very acceptable, I gotta say. Because then again, okay, the T-Lod's a 70, but I'm running everything else on Ultra, and still 28 is not bad. It's definitely not bad. Like I said, my Sims locked at 30. Personal preference, I know I could get a lot more than that, but I don't want insanely high temperatures, especially because the 3080 has very hot VRAM, which is not a good thing. Oh my god, there's something wrong. There is something wrong here. Wait a minute. That shouldn't be. Oh. Why is it all the way to the left like that? I never paid attention. Shouldn't it be centered? I'm confused. At first I thought my stick's not working, but it is working. Look. Oh, maybe it's unlike the Airbus and it doesn't show there, or I don't know. I'm confused. We're gonna see on takeoff, I suppose. I never paid attention to that before because I don't check the controls. I should. But then again, failures are off. So chances are the controls work, right? So I don't check it because what's the point? It's not real life. I mean, I know, like, if you're simulating real procedures, you should check the controls. But you're always going to be working, so, like, why bother, right? I personally don't. I just don't. I know I should, but then again, like, one could say, hey, by ignoring that, you're creating a bad habit, and that could carry on to real life. But I'm not a real pilot. I can never be a real pilot. I'll never touch a plane, a cockpit. So, whatever. Bad habit it is. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, it will change nothing. It won't change the fact that I cannot fly a real airplane. and it doesn't matter at the end of it. So I don't check the controls. And why is it all offset like that? Maybe if I turn... I'm gonna try and turn the FDs off and on again. See if that does something. No. That is very confusing. I don't know what's going on. But it's okay, it's okay. Let's move to the external corner. Ooh, look at that. Remove the voice. Such a nice bridge. A little upset now. Let's go back. Let's line this thing up properly. Look at that. Oh boy, look at that. Love it. Performance is really decent for the size of the airport and all that. Also, now I should, where's my Volanta? I really need to pay attention here because, like I said, I'm not familiar with the layout at all. So, I really gotta concentrate or should not get fully lost here. I mean, it doesn't look... It's pretty straightforward, but yeah, it would be kind of weird if I got lost on video. Or I don't want to be like the girls on ITV's EasyJet Inside the Cockpit where they got lost in the AMS. I mean, I don't blame them. I got lost in the AMS once. My prepared, I had to make many compromises on prepared to get good frames around big airports, and one of the compromises involved night lighting. And I decided to fly into Amsterdam at night. It was pitch black. Actually pitch black, and the airport was also pitch black, kind of. And I kind of got lost around the taxiways, and I had to go round and round and round and round. I was desperate. I was almost like teleporting to the stand. I got completely lost. It was terrible. And then I thought to myself, hey EasyJet girls, I know what you've been through now. I felt it, and it was not nice. It was terrifying. I got completely lost. I didn't know where I was going. I was running circles and circles and circles. It took like half an hour. It was probably longer than the flight, because I think it was like something England, somewhere in England, JAMS, and I got lost. Jesus, bro. Landing lights. This goes off. Oh, Jesus. TRA is perfect. So turn the traffic on. There's nobody apparently. Perfect. Let me just let everyone know. Complete traffic. Oh my god, that was not traffic. Hang up. Take off. 5. Perfect. Okay, everyone knows that we are about to take off. Final look at the... Oh god, look at that. The clouds are not that pretty today, but the overall... Oh god, look at the reflections. RTX on, baby! RTX on! Not really, but... Shot. Okay, let's go. Let's get fuel. Oh, it's already complaining. It was barely enough for taxi, huh? That was single tank fuel. I don't know. It's in 1 hour and 20 minutes, so we won't actually need 8,000 kilograms. I think it's because the cost index more than anything, which was set on auto. Look, the ground textures are really good. Really good. Look at that. I really appreciate the quality of this freeware, the way it runs relative to its size. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's get this baby lined up. Perfect. No, not quite, but we can like do that. Then, alright. So power percent. Perfect. Then oh. That no. That's not what I want. Oop. That was a misclick. I was I was moving things around my table and I misclicked. Chrono, then Toga. Let's go. She's actually not quite Toga, as you can see her. We're not going full power today. It's like a Flex MCT takeoff of an Airbus, I suppose. They call it D-rate or whatever, Boeing kind of stuff. So,
80 knots.
but it is what it is. Takeoff roll and good frame rate somewhat. Better than I would get good V4 at times. Performance stuff.
V1. Rotate.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Go. That's
Positive rate of climb.
Climb. That's good. Gear is up. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? So, reach 500 feet, turn down about one. Yeah, we open. CD. This goes off. Then what else? Off. Alright. Okay, start cleaning. Swing flaps one. Oh yeah. Look at that. So Tokyo right there. Fuel. Yeah, I know. Fuel. Is it 10 already? Oh, you're okay. Turn these off. There we go. Don't need that anymore. Flaps are up, which means we can move this to off. Perfect. We're all good now. But as you can see, performance is far from terrible. Even with the look at that. I mean, we're not quite over Tokyo right now, but we're gonna be eventually in a little bit. And you're gonna see how the 3700X handles such a demanding area. Not so demanding anymore, because like I said, I'm running 70 as during mods. It's not really that terrible. It's a good compromise that allows me to fly with a good frame rate, with a consistent frame rate, which is very important. I do like to think that consistency is key, and that allows me to get that sort of consistency that I appreciate. It doesn't die on me anymore. When I had T-ring lot 100%, I would get massive stutters around bigger airports. On short final, it would just start freezing and freezing and freezing, and sometimes on flare, which is terrible. Because if it freezes on a short final, it's fine. Like you're 500 feet above ground level and it freezes a little bit, that's fine. It's not a problem whatsoever. But if that does happen when you're flaring, that is terrible. That's actually terrible. It could compromise your landing entirely. It could make or break it. At times it can help. Like it could glitch out and make it very, very nice, but it could also kill your landing rate big time. It could make you, because basically you have no control over the airplane. It's frozen. So like, it's whatever, it depends on your luck, honestly. Like it's gonna freeze, it's gonna take no input, which is also a massive problem. Because of another thing, I don't have a throttle. So I have to rely on auto throttle on at all times, and I have a setting where pressing F1 on landing overrides it and turns it off so that I can land. But guess what? If the frames are too low, it does not turn off. I press F1, it ignores it. It doesn't override. Which means I float over the runway and I have to go around because my auto throttle simply does not turn off if the frames are bad. That's not helpful. So that's why I have made the compromise to lower my terrain lock. And now I'm running almost perfectly. I mean, the visuals are not as impressive anymore, but then again, it's a simulator, you know? Like, visuals are just, it's a complementary part of the experience, but it's not the whole experience. As long as you have systems that work decently, as long as you have an airplane that flies accurately, convincingly, I think the visuals are just like, it's just a final touch, you know, the background. It's not the main element, and if having good visuals mean you will have to lose frame rate, lose performance big time, and that may even compromise your overall experience, especially on landing, I don't think this is a good thing at all. That's why I have chosen to cut on that a little bit. And honestly, I do not regret a thing. I do not regret a thing, because as much as it doesn't look as good anymore, I don't have to deal with terrible frame drops anymore. You know, that's great. Like, I can fly into busy airports, no problem, without worrying whether my sim's gonna freeze, whether my computer is gonna have a stroke. That is out of the question now. And that's good. That's really good. It's a relief. I should have made this sooner. And if you're still running an older CPU like I am, I cannot recommend it enough. Make the sacrifice. It is worth it. It will hurt your pride at first because, you know, running everything maxed out is very, it feels good, you know, like, it makes you feel very good. Ego lifting kind of thing, like, yeah boy, I can run Microsoft Flight Sim Ultra and all that jazz. But honestly, performance over visuals at times, you gotta make that compromise. And it's a compromise that is 100% worth making. I can only recommend it. It's a life-changing experience. It made Microsoft Flight Sim so much more enjoyable, not having to deal with stutters anymore with low frame rate. It was something that I would just take for granted before, like, oh, okay, I'm flying into this city, my frames are going to be low, and that's it. That's what it is. It is what it is, and I just gotta take it for what it is. That is not fun. You know, it's scary that I was just taking that for granted, especially because, like, I came from V4, prepared V4 initially, which was my first actual proper sim, and the frames were terrible. Like, low 20s were generally the average, and that was good enough. And then I went over to V5, where 60 became a reality. It was unthinkable back in V4, and in V5 it was just the norm. Running at 60 was like not really far-fetched whatsoever. And then I went back to the 30 FPS in Microsoft Flight Sim. And I just took it for granted. Because, oh, the visuals are so much better anyway. Who cares? Like, why? I can worry about performance. I mean, I'm back to ground zero, back to what I had at V4, but at the very least, it looks so much better now. But you can make it look better in V4 and V5 still, while also making a couple compromises and having an experience that's worth experiencing, rather than having to take for granted that flying into a bigger city will just compromise your frame rate. It's not fun. It's not fun. Obviously, there are easier ways to go on about it, like getting a faster CPU, for instance. That is an easy fix, but that costs money. That would be the simpler way to fix that. I wouldn't have to deal with any of that, wouldn't have to make any compromises, but that would mean buying a new motherboard, buying a new CPU. That's a lot of work. And maybe new RAM, because if I buy a 7XXX Ryzen, that would mean I need the DDR5. So that's even more money. And with that being said, it's money. You gotta pay for it. Obviously, you're gonna get better performance, but you also gotta spend more money. So the point is, gotta just, you know, make do with what I got for now. Maybe in the future, yes, consider an upgrade, but for now, not really. And it's good enough. It's really good enough. 30 FPS. You don't need more than that for flight simulation. Like, honestly, you don't. It's good if it's solid 30 FPS, because there's a difference, obviously. If you have like 30 FPS, like your computer is struggling to deliver the 30 FPS, then yeah, it's not really fun. But If you can consistently deliver 30 FPS, no problem, especially if your computer can deliver more, but you just prefer to get 30 for that stability, for that locked frame rate experience. The 33.3 milliseconds experience, it's no problem at all, especially with G-Sync, because G-Sync's a game changer on that regard. It doesn't feel like 30 FPS, even though it's 30 FPS. It tricks your brain. I mean, it doesn't trick per se, it's just that G-Sync synchronize it better with your monitor, so it doesn't feel as choppy as it would on a 60 Hz panel without G-Sync, for instance. So yeah, it's a sacrifice that's definitely worth making. It's a price worth paying for that overall crisp, stable experience, rock solid experience, especially around smaller airports, because like around bigger airports the frames are still going to drop, as you've seen. Was taxiing around, frames were not perfect, but at the end of the day, like, the world's not only made of big airports, and you're gonna have a wonderful time around the smaller ones, because it's gonna be a consistent 30 all across the board. From the moment you load in the stand, the moment you taxi and take off, it's always gonna be 30, and approaching as well, 30 all over the place. And even around bigger airports, you're gonna see drops, but nothing major. It's in like maybe 4 FPS, give or take, which is not all the massive. And I do consider it a good middle ground between, you know, performance and overall enjoyment. So quality, it's a good in between. You don't lose a lot of quality, but you gain that rock solid stability that makes a huge difference. With that being said, I think that's enough for today. Like I said, it's not a full flight video, it's more so reporting my findings on performance, on compromises that I had to make, because it turns out, I mean, I knew it's not it turns out I knew I was CPU limited since the old days when I had the 2070. I knew it was the CPU holding me back. It's still the CPU holding me back, but now at the very least I can play with a slightly higher res, slightly more GPU intensive things, while also having to dial down on the CPU things, because CPU got a CPU, right? It's gonna hold you back at times, but yeah, it's been really enjoyable, man. Really enjoy myself playing Microsoft Flight Sim, and it's a sacrifice that I should have made a long time ago, but I insisted on 100% LOD, because I just, my brain was just like unwilling to go down, and I went down, and it's not that terrible. It's not that bad. It's a little blurrier, obviously, but the peace of mind you gain knowing that your PC won't struggle around bigger airports, the peace of mind that your frame rate won't be all over the place around bigger city, that's so worth it. Like, I would get shivers down my spine when I had to fly to New York or something like that, because I knew the frames would just be terrible. And it's not always that fun, you know, even though it's a lovely city, and you can take awesome screenshots. The experience is just not always fun. I would dread it most of the time. Like, oh my god, I should fly to New York. I would dread the moment when I would actually get on final approach and the frames would just dip to 19, 18. And it's just, it just kind of ruins part of the enjoyment, because you're looking at such a wonderful city, such a wonderful approach, but on the other hand, your computer is just screaming, begging, please end me, I cannot cope with this anymore. Then it's a bit of a 50-50, you know, you get that visual wow, and you kind of get sad as well, because you know you're underperforming, and you deserve better than that. 18 FPS, 19 FPS, what the hell is that? Playing FSX or what? You know, especially when you know you can do better, because you can just lower the settings. but there's that whole psychological factor that kinda stops you from doing that because somehow it just feels odd, you know, having to lower settings. But it's honestly a compromise that should be considered and should be made if you don't have fast speed, and if you're not able to upgrade, like you're not currently, like I am. I'm not able to upgrade. I mean, I could, but that would break the bank. I don't want to break the bank, especially if, well, the sim is working fine, you know. So like, it's a moment when the pros outweigh the cons substantially. There are more pros than cons to this. Oh my god, controller on? Just okay. Let's end the video now because I gotta deal with that. I see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Maybe hopefully more findings. Like, what if I find a magic way to increase the quality but also keep my frames at a decent point? Who knows? Anyway, I see you guys soon, hopefully. Bye bye.